Oh,
Ultimately, there's that family bond too. Look at World War I. That was a squabble between family members. If you get right down to it.
you, you're 100% right. It was. It wasn't, and that's when our royal family changed its name to Windsor. So that it wasn't seen as a German family, which essentially it was at the time. Yeah,
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 yeah. It's an
yes, that was
interesting
a
thing when
family
you look a
squabble.
little deeper.
That was a family squabble that when basically it was squabbling over the family silver and who ran Europe. That's what the squabble was about. Um, and the people who wanted to run Europe, of course, survived in their big houses and everything, and the cannon fodder was sent to die.
Yep, exactly. How many innocent lives lost because the family couldn't get along when they could have just had themselves a big powwow with the family, duked it out among themselves? No one else is made the
Yeah.
wiser.
Well, I'd say that there was a book I did a few years back called Asian Waters, non-fiction book, and I still argue this. And I went through looking at all the various treaties that have been signed after wars, going through. So you start the Treaty of Westphalia back in the 17th century, Congress of Vienna in the 19th century, and then you had the Treaty of Versailles after the First World War. All of them kind of fell apart, and then you had the Second World War. And the Second World War produced the United Nations and what we're living with at the moment. And now we're getting into this dodgy period again. And I reckon that right now, since we know we're in a dodgy period, you get all the world leaders together, or as not all of them, those that with a bit of power and money and that, sit them in a room, and you say, up until now, all of these treaties, wars have ended, and whatever. You've had to have the war before coming to the agreement. And I would be playing in a circular thing around, panoramic thing, all the destruction and suffering and whatever that comes from the nuclear weapons to the whatever's what I said. It is our job now to come up with an agreement that's going to last before the war starts. Uh, I
Absolutely.
I don't know if that will happen because
No, I
these
doubt it
treaties
very
tend,
much.
tend to be written by the victors, and you have to have a victor, and the victor comes from the battlefield. So, now even if I spell it out to you in that sort of way, I think how simple it is as to where we're heading at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my brother has occasionally commented that we will probably see World War III in our lifetime. I hope he's wrong, but
Hmm.
there are people who have that opinion. And me, I'm just a simple, very simple person. I think, you know what? I wish that they were not allowed to have people fight their battles for them. I wish that they could be locked in a room together, all the people who disagree, and they have to fight their own battle.
Yeah,
Because maybe they would think about it like, I don't want a bloody
yeah,
nose. Let's figure out how we can make this work.
yeah. And
But
leave us to
like I
do
said,
our
I'm a
podcast.
simple person.
Yeah, I think that's right, but I think that's probably what's going on at the moment. So, and there's nothing, and after covering these sort of political stuff for so long, I learned actually that you can have as many debates as you want. You can have as many papers written and universities and think tanks coming up with order. But at the end of the day, the decision on whether to do something or not is made by two or three people in a room, and they will not have read any of that stuff that's come on, and they do it because
None.
they think it's right, um, and they don't what I call backstory it. They don't they do up to a point, but the fact that we keep doing this stuff, we went into Iraq, we went into Afghanistan, we went into Libya, we went into none of those countries are any better, and now this whole thing's coming up with Iran again, and you think, what do they actually want to achieve by doing this?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a whole big conversation you and I could go about. But yeah, at the end of the day, I just try to stay out of it, and I just try to live my life, because a friend of mine says it, and I completely agree. There's no profit in war. War just begets more war, it begets more problems, and the world has enough problems without adding that.
Yeah, well, there we go. We've nailed that one, haven't we, Zoe? What a great!
I
I've got it
think
right in
so.
my mind. It's all
Well,
nailed.
you and I have a good time. We can spend a lot of time talking in general, I think, and have probably not run out of things to talk about.